Guys, today we're going to be doing an easy guide covering the practicalities of boosting with multiple consoles. So let's imagine you have 3 consoles. I want to cover today the practicalities around screens, controllers, accounts, and games. In the case of multiple consoles, the easiest and default thing to do is just to hook up a screen to each of them, right? And that works, especially if it's 2 consoles you're talking about, maybe even 3, but it doesn't scale very well. You don't have enough desk space, and it's expensive. So my advice is don't do that. You could look at replacing one of those screens with a remote play device for one of the consoles. That works pretty well, but don't do that either. If you want it to be workable long term, then do yourself a favor. Get yourself one of these. It's an HDMI Multiviewer, not a splitter and not a switch. A multi-viewer. You're going to plug your consoles into the HDMI ports on one side of the device, and you're going to plug a single screen into the HDMI output on the device, and that's going to let you view all of the consoles, up to 4 in this particular case, on a single screen. This saves you switching between screens when you're boosting with multiple consoles. Additionally, with a single button press on the viewer device itself, you can rearrange the screen layouts on your single monitor. The physical size and resolution of the single monitor you're using will determine the resolution that you're getting for each of the screens that it's displaying. I typically use a 1440p monitor, which is about the minimum you'd want to use probably when you're dividing that by 4. And if you've got a 4K monitor, then you're fine, you're awesome. So again, go get yourself an HDMI Multiviewer. It declutters your workspace, simplifies everything, and enables you to see all of the consoles in action at once. It's definitely worth it. Okay, let's talk about controllers. This seems like it should be pretty simple. Hook a controller up to each console and you're good to go. Trouble is, even with only 3 controllers, it quickly becomes this. And now it's not so easy to figure out which controller went with which screen and which console. And worse, if you're boosting games that have split screen ability, so let's say a COD game, then it's going to be 2 controllers per console, which now really has become a herd of cats. This becomes very, very tough to figure out which controller you're supposed to pick up to operate which screen. So again, do yourself a favor. For each console, go get yourself a cheap charging dock for the controllers. Something like 10 to 20 bucks. They'll keep the controllers charged. They tidy up the desk. They take our mess of controllers spread over the desk from this to this. Additionally, the placement of the controller dock and the controllers on it can correspond now to the placement of the console screen on your single monitor. And in the case of split screen games, the color of the controller or its position on the dock can help you remember which split screen that particular controller is controlling. So for multiple consoles, accounts and activation is a key concept. I have a whole video on how to handle this efficiently, so you look at the pop-up link or look in the link in the description and go check out that video. But the highlight reel here is across 3 consoles that are properly activated, you can share 1 PS Plus subscription. This is especially important for multiplayer games that you're trying to boost. The last thing you want to be doing is buying multiple PS Plus subscriptions when you don't need to. So let's talk about the games themselves, and specifically the format that you buy the game in. For the purposes of boosting, I would avoid buying these games on disc. You can't share the disc across multiple consoles, so you would have to end up buying multiple copies of the disc. Instead, you want to leverage game sharing across properly activated consoles in order to share a single purchased copy of a digital game across the same 3 consoles we previously activated properly to share the PS Plus. So this means we can share 1 PS Plus account and 1 copy of the game that we purchased across 3 consoles. So there you have it, guys, some tips around screens, controllers, accounts, and games for those of you who are boosting with multiple consoles. Hope this helps, and I'll catch you on the next one.